Welcome again to Stories of Our Texas Revolution, presented and produced by the Tejano Volunteer Company. I'm your host and Texas History Ambassador, Ana Gonzalez. If you appreciate stories of our Texas Revolution, take a second, hit the like button, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Today's story is titled The Grass Fight. This small military engagement occurred in late November 1835 between the Mexican Army stationed at the Alamo and Austin's newly formed Texian Army. As you know, the Texas Revolution started in October at Gonzales. By the end of that first month, General Austin, the leader of the newly formed Texian Revolutionary Army, had initiated what history remembers as the Siege of Bear. San Antonio, also called Bear, was home to the most prominent Mexican garrison in the province, headed by Santa Anna's brother-in-law. The Grass Fight was the second engagement of that siege and proved a victory for the Texians.
Date, Thursday, November 26, 1835. Time, 9:15 a.m. Location, 5 miles from San Antonio, slightly southwest. A recon team, consisting of a Texian and a Tejano, was out scouting for a Mexican mule team rumored to travel through the area. This recon team was a little excited, since rumors surfaced that a mule team had left Mexico City for San Antonio de Bear. Its cargo? Silver bullion. The silver was the payroll for the Mexican troops stationed at the Alamo. Then success. The recon team spotted the mule team early morning, not too far from San Antonio. Looking through his telescope, the Texian asked, "Is that what I think it is, amigo?" "Could be, what do you want to do, sordo?" responded the Tejano. "Then Def, we gotta go back and report this to Burleson." The team jumped on their horses and raced back to the Texian Army camp to report the good news. History remembers the members of this recon team as Def Smith and Agapito Cervantes. The Texian Army had gone through several changes since the Battle of Concepcion. The commander of the Texian Army was no longer Stephen F. Austin. That role now belonged to Colonel Burleson. Austin resigned when he was overruled by the Texians when Austin chose to march on Bear. The Texians thought that was suicide. Also, many Texian and Tejano fighters left with plans to spend the winter with their families. At the same time, many Americans, who had just recently entered Texas, arrived to join in the revolution. It was 10 a.m. when the recon team arrived. When Def and Agapito rode into camp, the Texian camp came alive excitedly. A large crowd gathered to greet the recon team. Several men in the group started inquiring. "Texian, did you find it?" "Tejano, is it true?" "Texian, were they carrying silver?" Colonel Burleson then signaled for the Texians to stop their inquisitions. Burleson addressing Def Smith, "What is your report, Smith?" Def answered him, "Agapito and I have spotted the mule train, about 40 packed mules, not too far from San Antonio, heading to the Alamo." Instantly, just like participants in a game show, everybody in camp ran to their horses to run after this money bag of a mule train. They could not wait to get their Texian and Tejano hands on some payday for themselves. Then all of a sudden, Burleson yelled out, "Everybody stop where you are. I give the orders. Now Colonel Bowie, choose 50 individuals you trust to accompany you on this mission, and go get the prize." Bowie could not believe Burleson chose him, but he didn't question the order. Immediately, Jim rounded up Tejanos and Texians, and they took off after the bullion. No sooner had Bowie and his team left when the remaining revolutionary fighters started bickering. Colonel William Jack spoke out. "What if they find the silver and keep it for themselves? What about us here?" "Colonel, let me go after the silver." Colonel Burleson saw the situation getting out of control quickly and ordered Colonel William Jack, with 100 men, to follow Bowie and his men. Jack guaranteed that the booty would make it back to the Texian camp, for all to share. History remembers that two groups of revolutionaries raced, as fast as their feet and ponies could take them, to that special Mexican mule train's last known location. The stage is now set for a battle of the Texas Revolution that took place mid-morning on November 26, 1835. The Grass Fight. The Mexican mule train was spotted by Bowie and his men about a mile from San Antonio, near a dry river bed, after which Bowie ordered the Texian and Tejanos to attack. That charge by Bowie's men scared and scattered all the mules. Both armies quickly ran for cover in the scrub and brush, at the edges of the dry Alazan Creek bed.
"Open fire!"
Bowie shouted. A firefight ensued, and the sounds of musket volleys firing during the skirmish traveled all the way to the Alamo. Soon General Cause was seen on the ramparts of the west wall, looking through his very shiny brass telescope at the fight. "Send 100 soldiers and a cannon to rescue the mule train," Cause ordered. Soon 100 Mexican troops and 1 cannon were seen leaving the Alamo. In the meantime, during a lull in the fighting, the 2nd Texian Cavalry arrived, looking for the action. Since everyone was stealthy, the arriving Texians didn't know that they accidentally walked into the middle of the opposing forces. When the fighting continued, the surprised Texian cavalry jumped off their horses, hitting the dirt, hoping not to become casualties before they got paid. Almost at the same time, William Jack's group with Bowie's team, the Mexicans with the cannon, arrived on the other side. The Mexican officer in charge then gave the command to charge. So the cannon fired, and the Mexicans charged. Several times during the skirmish, the Mexicans launched assaults on the Texian position. Finally, the Texian and Tejanos repelled the attacking Mexican troops on each attempt. Later, it was noted by witnesses to this engagement that during these Mexican offensives, the Mexican troops displayed unbelievable courage and military discipline that impressed and surprised the Texian rebels. About noon, the fighting ended when the Mexican army chose to retreat and abandon the mules and the cargo. Soon after the Mexicans left, the mules were rounded up by the Texians, and then Bowie gave the now famous order: break open the boxes. How many Texians and Tejanos did it take to break open the boxes? Apparently, all of them. The scene was reminiscent of children fighting for fallen candy from a recently busted piñata. As box lids began flying everywhere, all eyes were on those individuals reaching inside the boxes for the loot. 2 of the men getting in these boxes were the men who initially spotted the mule train, Def and Agapito. And history remembers that in complete unison, these 2 men pulled out a handful, then looked at each other. Then their facial expressions changed, and again in unison, they started laughing loudly and uncontrollably. They were laughing because they pulled out a handful of grass. There was no silver. This mule train was not the payroll mule train. Instead, the boxes contained freshly cut grass to feed the horses and mules at the Alamo. The entire Texian group erupted in laughter for several minutes. Their laughs could be heard all the way to the Alamo. Then, General Cause snickered a little as he looked through his telescope and said, "I think the rebels just found out that they fought for grass." Texas history. Never forget.